Cricket World Radio.
And this is Cricket World Around the World. Hello and welcome to Cricket World Around the World. I'm John Pennington and I'm delighted to welcome once again alongside me for today's show Jim White. Hello Jim.
Delighted to be here, John.
Another fascinating week in the world of cricket. I know you've been out and about talking to some stars of the game. We'll be hearing a little bit more about that later on. Let's start off then by looking back at the second week of the World Cup. We've had an upset, we've had all sorts of things happening really, but headlines being made by Kevin O'Brien and Ireland overturning England in what was a fantastic match.
Absolutely, John, and I think it's great for cricket. It's exactly what the World Cup's all about, giving associate nations a real chance to play the big boys. They're not going to get any better unless they play better opposition, and I think if they can't come to the party in a World Cup, when are they going to? Quite obviously we've had a few mismatches, which is going to happen, but I think you've got to give these guys an opportunity to play against the bigger teams in world cricket, and I think they don't mind the games because it gives them a chance to stretch their legs, acclimatise to conditions, and really my only little gripe, if I had one, would be that there's another 20 odd matches to go before we get to the quarterfinals, and we probably know who they're going to be anyway.
Well, you say that, but we've had Bangladesh being bowled out for 58 by the West Indies, and I make the point that yes, you are going to have these mismatches. Back in August, New Zealand beat India by 200 runs. England have twice gone down 6-1 to Australia in one-day internationals. It happens. That's the beauty of sport, isn't it? The underdog will have their day. Sometimes even between two top teams, you can have a game that isn't particularly appealing as a contest.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it doesn't have to be a big score. Low-scoring games are always good to watch because every run counts. One misfield can really matter. But I think the key thing here is that the World Cup it doesn't need to be long enough to make sure that the alleged predicted teams go through. The whole point of, let's take football, the FA Cup for example in England, the whole point is to give these teams, this is their chance of glory, and if they win, let them go through. Why not? They're having their chance on the world stage. Don't give them too many games because over a period of time they probably won't get through. That's the whole point of why they're where they are at the moment. But give them a chance, and maybe if they win a game or two games, there's an opportunity to be in the last eight.
Now, talking of winning one or two games, or in fact one or two or three, Pakistan, they've been particularly impressive for me. Shahid Afridi's taken 14 wickets in 3 games. They are looking pretty good, aren't they?
They are, and Afridi is just the right sort of person for this tournament because, he's not a quick bowler, and who we've seen disappear all around the park because people like pace on the ball at any time of the innings. Spin hasn't really come to the fore yet. I'm waiting to see. I think a few more days and the wickets will just start to wear a bit. I think the spin really, that the teams play one or two spinners. That was sort of a lot of the talk.
South Africa playing 3 or 4
prior to the tournament. But Afridi bowls he's almost like a medium pace spinner because you never know what quite we're going to get, but it's quick enough that you've got to do something. You haven't got time to think. And I think he'll be a real handful, and I'll see him probably more than doubling that tally in the later stage of the tournament.
Now, I mentioned South Africa there. They feel comfortable enough at the moment to rest Johan Botha with Robin Peters and Imran Tahir, JP Duminy, Francois Duplessis doing the spinning duties. They look to be very, very well balanced and really the form team of the tournament so far. They are.
They're on the money, aren't they? What they've done is they've got themselves ready for the competition. They're peaking and they're maintaining that intensity and that ability, if you like. Other teams are taking their time to get into it. England have had some glitches. They'll probably say, actually, we're not far away, but the point is they're not being consistent. And that's where England are falling down at the moment, I think. And South Africa are up there. Australia, again, there's another team who are performing consistently well. They like the big occasion. It brings the best out in the players, and a lot of it for the players is this ability to perform when it matters.
I was just going to come on to Australia to sort of finish our World Cup discussion, as they just seem to know what it takes to win in World Cup matches, because particularly 2007, their form going into the World Cup wasn't great. They lost to England in the CB series as it was. They lost to Sri Lanka at home recently as well. But as soon as they get to India, they started playing good cricket again. What is it about? It's amazing, isn't it, how they keep doing this?
It's the World Cup, isn't it? I mean, they're all 20, 30 odd games now without losing, obviously because they've won it.
Incredible run.
Sorry?
It's an incredible run.
Sorry, I was just suddenly thinking as to when the run started. I was trying to cast my mind back.
Well, it was way back in 1999 when Pakistan, I think, beat them in a group game.
Yeah.
And then went on to, they tied with South Africa, but won through on that run rate. So
and I think that's the point. It is the World Cup. Series come and go, but when it's the World Cup, it matters. World stage, playing all different opposition. They are so confident in their own abilities. Some would say arrogance. I think it's just they're very happy with themselves. Really good group of people. Ponting, I think, is still doing a fantastic job for them. He's had his not his fans, the opposite of his fans, but
detractors.
Detractors was going to be what I was going to use there, because he hasn't been in great nick over recently. But he is the man to lead the side, and I think they will draw from that. Players will come to the party. Michael Clark, he owes a lot of runs, and he's not the world's worst left-arm bowler either.
Now, plenty more games to come, as you sort of alluded to there, Jim, so we'll be back again next week, sort of discussing the third week of the tournament. We've got England, South Africa on Sunday. That's a huge game for so many reasons. We've got Sri Lanka, Australia, repeat of the 2007 and 1996 World Cup as well to look ahead. Just wanted to catch up where you've been up to this week, Jim, because I know you've been talking to some rather high-profile cricketers. Absolutely.
Well, to name two of them, first of all, went up to Yorkshire, to Headingley. Return of Ryan Sidebottom, of course, one of England's probably best ever bowlers. I'm sure he'd probably be quite happy to be out in India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka at the moment. He brings something different. He's stronger than he's ever been. He's been training. I think it's his first winter in 5 years. He's not been playing cricket. Looks fit, feels strong. A lot of fitness testing up there at Headingley, and he's absolutely raring to go. I think they're off to Barbados for a pre-season tour with 5 counties. Let's see how well he does out there, and there may well be an airline just looking to see if he can fly from the Caribbean out to. I doubt it. I know he's retired, but it may be pie in the sky. But he is the sort of guy who you really would want on your side. His intensity just brings the best out in people.
Jim, just to cut in there, Jim, you've started the Bring Back Sidebottom campaign.
I have. Well, why not? Why not? He's a left-arm bowler and he swings a ball. He swings a white ball. He wouldn't. I don't think he'd bowl any worse than anybody else, but it's at a different angle, which we or England don't have at the moment. It's all a bit samey, and people are just latching onto it. Well done to Kevin O'Brien, fantastic knock, and a lot of it was test match bowling, which as in it's in the slot, which in a test match you might feel for or fish outside off stump, but in this form of cricket everything must go, and once you got your eye in, the ball was probably the size of a football. So if he's got any background in Gaelic football, I'm sure he's happy just to pump it out of the park. But great to see that particular innings, and of course Ian Harvey also caught up with during the week. World Cup winner in 2003 with Australia. He's a pundit at the moment. He's watching a lot of cricket, and he's been very interested to watch how spin hasn't quite come to the fore just yet. But he's backing, if you'd like to know, his 2 finalists are Australia, who he says it'll be 4 in a row, and I think he had Sri Lanka. India as the other side. He thought that they would be the other key team at the end of the series.
So you'll be able to find those interviews and a whole lot more on our Cricket World TV page. You can find from the top of the menu. Jim, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure.
It's time to move on now. We've mentioned Kevin O'Brien, we've mentioned talking to people and that Ireland game, and here's Chetan Narula talking to me in the aftermath of that game in Bangalore. So it's time for another edition of Cricket World at the World Cup. I'm John Pennington in the studio in the UK. I've been watching today's game between England and Ireland in Bangalore, but I'm joined on the line now by Chetan Narula in Bangalore, who's at the game today. What is it about that ground that seems to be producing these fantastic games?
Well, John, I should tell you that 2 or 3 years down the line, or perhaps 10 years down the line, when we remember the 2011 World Cup, we will all remember how Bangalore turned around the World Cup, how it uplifted the mood surrounding this particular tournament. We had that tremendous tie on Sunday between India and England, and today, it was a match between arch rivals, in fact, if you can call that. Ireland and England. One is a test nation, a huge nation in terms of cricket, and the other is a relative minnow. And a tremendous game, Ireland just knocking England off their perch and chasing down that 300 plus total.
Now, where did you think it went wrong for England? Certainly the halfway stage, a lot of people said, well, surely that's enough runs. Even when Ireland were 111 for 5, the game appeared for many to be dead and buried. But what went wrong for England, or conversely, how did Ireland pull it back?
Well, you have to realise that in long chases, it's never too easy to score these many runs. 300 plus total, never easy to chase down. So there are a couple of turning moments. I think the first turning moment was, of course, when the first partnership was broken. They were going along very nicely. Ireland were building small partnerships, and then after the bowling power play, England were able to put on the brakes. They took those 5 wickets, as we said, and Ireland were dead and buried. But I think perhaps then England went a little complacent, and I think it was similar to what we saw in the Sunday game between India and England, when India probably realized that 340 was going to be enough on any day to win this particular game. I thought when Ireland were 5 down, England also realized that they pretty much had the game in the bag, and probably turned themselves off at that time. And then Kevin O'Brien coming on and scoring that magnificent 100, a fastest 100 in the World Cup from Kevin O'Brien. And I think the biggest turning moment was that batting power play. We saw on Sunday how it ruined the game for England. Today also the batting power play ruined the game again. They gave away 62 runs in 5 overs. They had scored only 40 odd in their 5, and they've lost a couple of wickets as well. But today, Ireland scored 62 for no loss in those 5 overs, got the momentum going, and after that, even in the press conference, Kevin O'Brien was saying after that 12 overs were remaining, and they thought that they could make the finish line.
Well, he quite obviously was named man of the match, Kevin O'Brien. Was that one of the more remarkable innings you've seen live?
Yes, I have. I've never seen such a magnificent innings. I mean, the other day I was able to witness 2 fantastic hundreds. So that's the third 100 I witnessed live from in this particular tournament. In fact, it's a 4th. I saw Ryan Doshate's 100 in Nagpur as well. So 400 in 3 games that I have witnessed live. I have to say the best one by far was this knock, compares with Andrew Strauss's 158, but nothing to take away from Ryan Doshate and Sachin Tendulkar, of course. Wonderful hundreds from them. But this one has made the most impact, fastest 100, and a huge partnership there with Cusack, and probably steering Ireland towards victory.
And the halfway stage, particularly in England, people were getting very excited because Jonathan Trott had reached 1,000 ODI runs in just 21 innings. That record, it doesn't pale into insignificance, but people have rather forgotten about that now in the wake of O'Brien's 50-ball century and, of course, Ireland's world record run chase. So Ireland really got their campaign off and running finally, haven't they?
Well, yes, I think Ireland, let's talk about both the points that you've raised here. First, we'll talk about Jonathan Trott. He's a wonderful player. He's made good use of his chances that have come around. He's batted well down under in the Ashes tour. So, yes, we were waiting for him to come good here. He couldn't get to his 100. The other day also against Netherlands, he scored a half century. So, that was good batting again from there. We thought England might funnel the runs here with Andrew Strauss and Kevin Peterson doing very well for the opening partnership. But somehow, Kevin Peterson is not able to get the big runs. He was again out today after getting his 50. The thing is now that coming to the second point, Ireland's World Cup, their captain William Porterfield was talking about how they could have beaten Bangladesh, but they are over it now. So they also feel that they have to win another couple of matches, perhaps 3 matches, beat another of the big teams to advance to the quarterfinals. The bigger question is, will they be available in the will they be able to play in the 2015 World Cup?
Well, perhaps leave that question for another day. Chetan, you're obviously travelling around India covering the World Cup for us with our regular podcasts and written pieces as well. What's next on your immediate agenda? Well,
I'm very sad to leave Bangalore. There's another good game on Sunday compared to what we have seen here. It's India versus Ireland in Bangalore, but I'll be moving to Chennai where England and South Africa will be playing each other in another Group B game. So we'll be talking from Chennai. We'll be having updates from the England-South Africa game, as also probably we'll cover the India-Ireland match as well. We'll discuss that match as well.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to that, Chetan. Thanks again for your time and a safe onward journey.
Thank you, John.
Chetan Narula talking to me there from New Delhi as part of our Cricket World at the World Cup podcast, which you can download from the website or iTunes. Time to end this week's show with this week's edition of the ICC radio show. So some more star names talking to us here, including Sourav Ganguly and Angelo Mathews.
It's been a week of fascinating results and impressive performances at the 2011 ICC Cricket World Cup. And we're back with yet another power-packed episode of the ICC Cricket World. I'm Moshmi Dutt, and we've got lots lined up for you in the next 15 minutes. On the show this week, we'll chat with former India captain and now commentator Sourav Ganguly on the India-England nail-biter in Bangalore that ended in a tie. We'll also chat with former South African cricketer Robin Jackman on South Africa's comprehensive 231-run win against the Netherlands at Mohali on Thursday. And we'll hear from Sri Lankan all-rounder Angelo Mathews on the ICC's Room to Read programme. The ICC Cricket World Cup in the last week saw some sensational team and individual performances. But there were two games that'll go down in history as unforgettable World Cup results. While it was Sri Lanka's Lasitha Malinga who stole the headlines for a sensational hat-trick against a hapless Kenyan side on Tuesday, the big story came out of the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru, where India and England fought out a gut-wrenching tie, with England equaling India's mammoth total of 338. Sachin Tendulkar scored 120 of 115 deliveries to help India reach to 338. Then it was England skipper Andrew Strauss who responded with a brilliant 158 to set up England's chase. Despite Strauss's efforts, the seesaw battle ended with England stranded at 338 for 8 at the end of the 50th over. England, not fully recovered from that unforgettable result, ran into Ireland next, and the game shocked one and all. Batting first, the English batsmen came good once again as they piled on 327 for 8 in 50 overs, with Jonathan Trott and Ian Bell scoring 91 and 88 respectively. In reply, the Irish played out of their skins and stunned England with a 3-wicket win with 5 deliveries to spare. That chase was led by Kevin O'Brien, who raced to a sensational 100 as Ireland secured the most famous win ever. He won the Man of the Match award for his score of 113 of just 63 balls, an inning laced with 13 boundaries and as many as 6 sixes. Alex Kushak and John Mooney played supporting roles in what has become one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. England will need to do a lot of soul-searching, while an upbeat Ireland will take on India at the same venue on Sunday. So while we prepare ourselves for what will now be a thrilling clash between India and Ireland, our correspondent Mayanti Langer spoke to former India captain Sourav Ganguly.
Sourav, we're just looking ahead to the India-Ireland game over here. Now, what would India's mindset be in this? Because you're coming out of a game where you posted like almost 330 plus, and yet you came away with a point. I mean, a team almost chased it down.
Yes, they will be disappointed that game, I'll be honest, and it's a game which they should have won, getting 338, but as I said, you got to give due credit to England as well. They will also be wary about the way Ireland played against England the other night. I'm not saying India needs to worry too much because they're a much better side than Ireland. They just need to be ready and up for the game. They have some dangerous players. They chased 327 against England easily. Obviously, it was an outstanding innings from O'Brien. It doesn't happen every day. But still, India will have to be up and ready for it. And also, it gives an opportunity to get them to sort their bowling combination. Whether they want to play with 3 fast bowlers or continue with 2 spinners and 2 seamers, which I don't think is the way forward. They will have to get in 3 fast bowlers and make sure somebody like Yusuf Pathan bowls a lot more and gets to bowl his 10 overs.
So let's go into more detail, because it is the bowling and the fielding that to some extent that came under flack. They did go with those 2 specialist spinners. What about Srishant? I mean, what's your opinion of him? He did take a bit of a hit. Should he come back into the scheme of things?
Of course he should come back into the scheme of things. In the same way the other bowlers took a lot of beating in the last game. You cannot just pick and drop players on the basis of one bad performance. But if you ask me at the start of the World Cup, which are my 3 best seamers to start the World Cup, it would be Zahir Khan, Ashish Nehra and Munaf Patel. So if those 3 are fit, they should get the first go. And if one of them is not ready or not in good form or not fit, then Srishant should come in, provided India wants to play 3 quicks.
Of course, let's get back to now Ireland, because that was an absolutely fantastic performance. They, in their own words, the best game of their lives over here. But have they already, considering if they've played the best game of their lives over here, what more do they have left to give?
Well, they can keep continuing playing as good as they have been doing. Every day they won't be chasing 327, so they have to be careful about that. It's going to be another good wicket in Bangalore, as we saw in the last 2 games. So we expect a high-scoring ground. and I'm sure they'll compete with India.
Just because you were there in Bangalore for that mammoth match, and yes, going back into this, the venue has become a so-called, it's been the absolute cricket fans' delight, and we should be expecting the same over there.
Hopefully, and it just seems from outside that the side batting second enjoys the conditions as well. The ball skids onto the bat, the ball travels on the outfield, so it's going to be a good game. India can also look at putting Ireland in and chasing if they're going with 7 batters and Harbhajan at 8. So these are the options.
Remember that game will be played on Sunday, the 27th of February. Moving on to one of the top contenders at the 2011 ICC World Cup, South Africa took on the Netherlands at the PCA Stadium in Mohali on Thursday. A 221-run partnership between Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers set the Proteas to put on a colossal 351 for 5 in 50 overs. AB de Villiers top scored with 134 of just 94 deliveries, an innings in which he hit 13 fours and 4 sixes. Hashim Amla knocked 113 of 130 balls. In reply, the Netherlands were bowled out for 120 as South Africa sealed an easy 231-run victory. I caught up with former South African player and now commentator Robin Jackman after that game to find out his thoughts on South Africa's performance against the Minnows Netherlands. Robin, another good performance from South Africa with the bat and ball dominating in the field. Is it now that they can do no wrong?
Oh no, I don't think so. This was a weak game. I think they expected to beat Holland and beat them well, or the Netherlands, I should say, and beat them well. The West Indies was a game they had to be on the mark for because they've not got a great record against the West Indies. They beat them in their first game. So, yeah, they'll be happy to be top of the log. They will be happy with this result from the point of view of the net run rate because they've opened up a big gap on India. So if we do end up at the end of the day with 2 teams with the same number of points, that will be an advantage to South Africa in terms of topping the log. But there's they've had an opportunity to work out their combinations. They went in with an extra batter today. I think that they might be thinking of doing that against England, which is their next match on Sunday, which is crucial, especially to England, having lost. But still, no team really wants to lose a game and make themselves a little bit vulnerable. So I expect South Africa to go with a similar combination in terms of 7 batsmen, but just what the bowling combination will be, I think, will probably depend on the pitch, for one thing, in Chennai, and 2, Tahir once again got wickets, so he looks like he's pretty sort of stuck there. It's a question of whether Botha comes back for Peterson if they do go that route. Well,
we talk about the spinners. Are you surprised at how well the South African spinners are performing on this field?
Not really, but they're good bowlers. And Tahir, no one's seen him before. Imran has been doing wonderfully well in the domestic competition back home. And leading wicket taker in just about all competitions that he's played in, or played any amount of games in. And guys haven't worked him out just yet. And they're still scrambling around, I would guess, with their video guys and this, that and the other, filming everything that they've seen here today, and batsmen will be having a really good look at him. The England boys will be having a real close look at what he looks like when he bowls the googly, because a few people aren't picking that, and he turns that more than he does his leg spinner. So yeah, he's a surprise package. He didn't play in the one ODI series against India deliberately to keep him out of the limelight, give the rest of the world as little opportunity to work him out as possible. So he's proving at the moment to be quite a trump card.
About the batsmen, I mean, obviously the middle order and lower order haven't had really a go in the last 2 games. But are you looking at Graeme Smith and Jacques Kallis's form? Is there any sort of concern about these players not being able to perform or convert big scores?
No, I'm not. I've seen them for so long. I've watched them for so many years. Graeme has played the first part of this tour with a bit of bronchitis and a bit of a cold. He's not been that well, and he struggled a little bit against the West Indies, as we saw, but he still hung in there. He got 40 odd, and he helped the team, as it were. De Villiers was going by then because they lost 2 quick wickets. And so he contributed from that point of view. Today, when he got out, De Villiers picked it up and ran with it. Cullis didn't get any runs in either of the two games. Caught down the leg side, isn't some technical problem, and he's a class act. So I'm really not bothered about those two. They'll be getting some runs soon.
AB de Villiers, 2 back-to-back hundreds in 2 games. How important has he become to the South African setup?
Very. I mean, he's such a good cricketer. You know, if he hasn't got the gloves on behind the stumps, which he's still working really hard at, it's not a natural thing for him to do. It's just he just has a natural ability to be able to do it. He's probably one of the best backward points in the world. And his form with the bat is phenomenal right now. And he started off, as you say, with two hundreds on the trot, 2 Man of the Match awards on the trot, and has played quite beautifully. And as much as he's not only played some class shots and this, that, and he's been innovative as well. He carried Amla, I felt, today. Although Hashim got 100, he certainly got 100, he didn't find it quite so easy. And all the time that the other player, whoever it might be at the other end, is scoring at a good rate, then the team is scoring at a good rate, so it sort of helps you through. And I thought, as a pairing, they played particularly well together, because eventually Hashim was just going, okay, my job is to get 1 and let AB de Villiers carry on hitting the fours.
We look at South Africa's performance, 2 very good games, coming up England. Would you say that England is the big test, that they really haven't been tested in these last 2 games?
Yeah, I would. I think that, in all fairness to the West Indies, who weren't on song in that first match, and to the Netherlands, who weren't up to the task today, England are feeling quite bruised. They got beaten by Ireland yesterday, and they will be feeling like they've really got something to prove. So they'll be working really hard, taking a lot of things on board in the time between now and Sunday, and they will come out a very, very different unit. And South Africa will be properly tested for the first time, I think, in the tournament when they play them.
And who do you think will have to come to the party to get South Africa a win?
I think as a team unit, they're playing really well. They're confident. They're confident with the mix that they've got. They're confident with the squad that they've got. If anybody were to fall out of the squad, they've got other players that they have their faith in. I think they're quite a difficult team to beat right now. They've got a great strike force in Steyn and Morkel. The spinners are already showing that they can do a little bit. Cullis, who failed with the bat today, came back, got 2 for 19 with the ball, which all the great all-rounders do. When they get one thing wrong, they get the next thing right. And so, yes, I think South Africa got every right to feel pretty good about the way they're playing. But as I say, the first real test is going to be Sunday against England.
The match between South Africa and England at Chennai on Sunday has the makings of a thriller. Now, alongside all that fantastic cricket at the 2011 ICC World Cup, there are many other exciting initiatives that the ICC has undertaken. One of them is the Room to Read program, by which the ICC aims to contribute in transforming the lives of millions of children by addressing literacy and gender equality in education. As part of that program earlier this week, Sri Lanka's Angelo Mathews spent some time with rural kids. It was a fun session for the children, with Angelo reading out passages from storybooks. He also spoke to us about his fantastic initiative by the ICC.
The ICC, together with Room to Read, have started this campaign about literacy and women's education, girls' education. And I think it is very important to read, because we know, and the ICC and the Room to Read strongly believes that the world changes starts with educated children. So yeah, it's great to be here. I think the message that sends out from this is it's about reading, it's about literacy, and getting access to the books. So I think reading, you can gather a lot of knowledge, and I think read as much as you can.
It's time now to give you a quick wrap of all that's happening on the Reliance Mobile ICC rankings. 11 matches into the ICC Cricket World Cup 2011, and there's been plenty of movement in the Reliance ICC ODI rankings, with no fewer than 4 players achieving career best rankings. Australia's Shane Watson climbed up 4 places to break into the top 10 for the first time in his career. South Africa's JP Duminy is up 2 places to share the 15th spot with captain Graeme Smith, and West Indies' Chris Gayle, while Netherlands' Ryan ten Doeschate climbed 12 places to 20th position. Other batsmen to head in the right direction include Virender Sehwag in 5th, Sachin Tendulkar in 10th, Andrew Strauss in 13th, and Kevin O'Brien in 52nd. On the bowling front, South African Dale Steyn has jumped 4 places into the 4th position. Mitchell Johnson of Australia has rocketed 12 places to 5th. Also on the move are Shahid Afridi in 11th and Zaheer Khan in 14th. Daniel Vittori of New Zealand continues to lead the field with South Africa's Morne Morkel in 2nd place and Ray Price of Zimbabwe moving up 1 place to 3rd. In the Reliance ICC ODI player rankings for all-rounders, Ryan ten Doeschate has moved up 4 places to a career-best 5th position as the top 4 remain unchanged with Bangladesh's Shakib Al Hassan leading the way. Lots more big performances expected with so much cricket still to come in the next 4 weeks at the ICC 2011 World Cup. Plus, we'll keep an eye on all the ups and downs on the Reliance Mobile ICC rankings table. With that, we've come to an end to this week's program. We hope you've enjoyed it. For now, from me, Moushumi Dutt, and the rest here at ICC Cricket World, it's goodbye.